welcome to Comic Island. My name's Arden, and today we're checking in with Venom. So, I haven't really talked much about Venom since the big story with him involving Amazing Spider-Man number 800. But there's also been an amazing new series out involving Venom called, well, Venom. Written by Donny Cates and drawn by Ryan Stegman, this is a phenomenal new series that I would highly recommend you guys check out if you've been a little apathetic about all the stuff that's come out involving Venom since he was separated from Flash Thompson. This series has been a whole new chapter and it's been really interesting so far. An excellent mix of horror and a bunch of new revelations about Venom and the history of this symbiote, involving some pretty new stuff. In this series, Venom starts to lose control as the symbiote. Eddie Brock has virtually no control when he lets the symbiote take over his body. It goes berserk, getting violent and sadistic like it used to be, while turning red and having this weird symbol on his face and getting very animalistic. He's captured by this soldier who explains that other symbiotes have actually been used by the US government since before Project Rebirth 2.0. The guy is actually kind of interesting. He captured this Venom symbiote thinking it was Flash Thompson and was disappointed to learn it was Eddie Brock, and that gets into the history of this character. The man at one point goes over it through his own narration, as he talks about how what he knows of Eddie is very inconsistent. He starts out as this photographer, becomes a big-time Spider-Man villain, starts saving people occasionally. Then there's all the business with Carnage and Anti-Venom and all the other crazy and inconsistent things that have happened to Eddie Brock. He isn't sure what to make of the guy, but nevertheless he needs his help. A lot of his old squad mates got permanently bonded with their symbiotes, and they're about to be permanently shelved by S.H.I.E.L.D. He asks Venom to help rescue his old friends. Eddie Brock reluctantly complies, and it actually feels really good at first. Venom is back to form and isn't going all berserk, but then when he opens the truck up, the symbiote separates from him and bows before what's in there. This being rips the symbiotes out of these soldiers that were permanently bonded to their hosts and disappears, while Eddie Brock is nearly killed by this thing. He confronts the soldier guy who asked him about all of it, and he explains that when he was first bonded with the symbiote, he saw this being. And it turns out that it was the god of symbiotes. It took him a long time to fully comprehend and understand it, but the idea is that millennia ago this being is the one that created the symbiotes to unleash this terror and horror on the universe. And now this being's dragon, which was apparently in that truck all along, has been loosed on New York City. Venom, without any real choice, goes to confront it, even though he knows the symbiote is very sketchy around it. But he's confronted by the only other hero currently available, as the rest are currently dealing with the whole Celestial business over in the Avengers comic, Miles Morales. Miles has some very non-specific memories about Venom doing something horrible to his mother and attacks Eddie Brock on sight. Eddie, who has no memory of this, since it happened in the Ultimate Universe, doesn't really know what to make of it and eventually gets the kid to calm down, and the two agree to deal with that business later while they confront the giant dragon rampaging through the city. That's a great moment, by the way, that I quite enjoyed. So together the two go and confront the dragon, and Miles uses his Venom Blast, which have always had a tremendous effect on Venom, the villain, on the dragon, and it seems to knock it down at least somewhat. But then out of the dragon emerges this being, and he introduces himself as Null, the god of symbiotes, closing out issue 3 and bringing us into the present. What happens next is anyone's guess, but oh man, this is an amazing series, guys. I get that some people might be annoyed that this is kind of retconning some stuff that we already knew about the symbiotes, but whatever. For one thing, when push comes to shove, we don't actually know a lot about these symbiotes or where they came from. And more importantly, who cares? It's fun to change and do different things, especially when it's done well, and this series is done really well. Besides, if you think about the Marvel Universe and the amount of time travelers and shifting realities and all the business around Secret Wars, all the Secret Wars, it's pretty fair to assume that we don't necessarily know the full story and things may have changed in the reality that we know it. Our intel, much like how the soldier thought that Venom was Flash Thompson, might be out of date. But most importantly, the series is just so great. Donny Cates is a really fun writer who brings a lot of energy into this series. He writes these characters well, and it's very easy to relate to Eddie Brock. He wants to do the right thing, even the symbiote wants to do the right thing, but there's this crazy being that's so much more powerful than they are. that can take control of the alien and make it do things that it wouldn't normally do. Which is, by the way, another big facet of the ending. I actually got chills at the end because it's just done so well. But the guy takes the Venom symbiote and says it's been corrupted by humanity, and then burns it out of him. It's a big moment that might erase everything that's happened to the symbiote ever since it bonded with Peter Parker, which is a huge change to the character. I get that some people might be upset about that, but I would argue this isn't just wiping things away without consequence. This is a villain attacking a character that we care about and doing an absurd amount of damage to him in the process. We'll see the full extent of what this damage is, and maybe Eddie can bring the symbiote back out of this, but who knows what's going to happen. That might not be the case, that might not be what happens, and if so, that's a devastating move that makes this new villain powerful and meaningful. It's one thing to retcon something or to just wipe away history for the sake of resetting something back to normal. This is different. This is something new for the character that's kind of scary. And on top of all of that is Ryan Stegman's art. It's really something else. It makes the Venom symbiote look great as ever. Even in panels where he's really tiny and hard to see, he looks really good. But then when we get big shots of him, like the one here where he's ramming into a truck at full speed, look utterly amazing. Stegman's pencils make this scene come to life in a big way, while J.P. Mayer's inks really give it a lot of detail and distinction. He's the one that makes the shot feel really present and strong. Finally, Frank Martin does the coloring, and it's amazing. Look at how bright this explosion is. It makes moments like this panel really stand out in a big way, and I really appreciate this artwork. On the whole, Venom is a phenomenal series and one that I definitely recommend you guys check out. Or if you're wanting to wait around for the trades, definitely be sure to do so when they're on sale at Comixology or something like that, because it will definitely be worth your time. And this was a fun read. Like I said, it's rare to walk away from a comic getting chills, but at the end of issue 3 I totally did, and I appreciate that. Today I read Flash number 50, Amazing Spider-Man number 1, and these 3 issues of Venom, and I have to say, it was the Venom stuff that had me most excited. In a week of some crazy comics with like so many big moments happening to them, this is what really stood out to me, was catching up on Venom. It's starting to become one of my favorite Marvel series currently being published right now. So, good for them. Good for Donny Cates. It's a really good story he's put together. And Ryan Stegman, I think, is the real driving force behind what makes this artwork so well. Not to downplay on the work that all the other people in the art team do or the editing that goes on over at Marvel, but these guys are really knocking the series out of the park right now in a very impressive way. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think of the Venom series in the comments section below. If you like Comic Island, be sure to check out our Patreon page. And finally, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.